I'm standing in the kitchen of a mansion I could never afford, watching a 7-year-old boy form the words "I love you" with his small hands, and my heart is breaking in the best possible way. 6 months ago, I was homeless on Christmas Eve, thrown out by my own daughter like yesterday's garbage. Today this child, who hasn't spoken a word in 3 years, just told me he loves me in sign language, and his mother, Isabella Hartwell, is about to say 5 words that will change everything again. But let me go back to the beginning, to the day my life shattered into 1,000 pieces. My name is Elena Martinez, and I'm 62 years old. For 35 years I built something beautiful from nothing. What started as a small food truck selling my grandmother's Mexican pastries grew into Sweet Elena's, a chain of 8 bakeries across Southern California worth $15 million on paper. Every morning at 4 a.m., I wake up to the smell of cinnamon and vanilla, losing myself in the rhythm of kneading dough and watching sugar transform into art. My husband Ricardo and I built that empire together, one conquest at a time, one tres leches cake at a time, one customer at a time. We had dreams, big dreams, not just for ourselves but for our daughter Veronica. She was our only child, our miracle baby after years of trying. We gave her everything. Private schools, ballet lessons, trips to Europe, and a trust fund that would make most people weep with envy. Then, 3 years ago, Ricardo died. Just like that. One moment he was laughing at the kitchen table, teasing me about my obsession with perfecting my abuela's recipe for pan dulce, and the next moment he was clutching his chest, gasping for air. Massive heart attack. The paramedic said he was probably gone before he hit the floor. I wanted to die too. But I had Veronica. She was 28 then, working in marketing, dating a man named Marcus who wore expensive suits and talked about cryptocurrency and real estate investments. She moved back in with me after Ricardo died, said she wanted to take care of me, that I shouldn't be alone in that big house filled with memories. I thought she loved me. God, I was so stupid. After Ricardo's funeral, I started giving Veronica everything she asked for. A new car when hers broke down, $20,000. Seed money for a business idea she had, $50,000. Designer clothes, spa weekends, first-class tickets to Cancun with Marcus. I said yes to everything because every time I looked at her, I saw Ricardo's smile, his eyes, his laugh. She was all I had left of him. When she told me Marcus proposed, I cried happy tears. I paid for the wedding, all of it. $200,000 for a celebration at a beachfront resort in Malibu. Ice sculptures, a 12-piece band, flowers imported from Ecuador, a dress that cost more than my first car. I didn't care about the money. I wanted my daughter to be happy. I wanted her to have the fairy tale wedding I never had. The wedding was beautiful. Veronica looked like an angel in white lace, walking down an aisle scattered with rose petals. I sat in the front row crying, thinking about how proud Ricardo would have been. Marcus's family was there. Wealthy people from Connecticut with old money and older attitudes. They looked at me like I was the help, but I didn't care. This was my daughter's day. 3 days after the wedding, everything changed. Veronica and Marcus came to my house in the afternoon. I was in the kitchen, naturally making empanadas. Veronica loved my empanadas. At least she used to. "Mom, we need to talk about something important," she said, sitting at the kitchen island while Marcus stood behind her, his hand on her shoulder. "Of course, Mija. What is it? Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine. Actually, everything's great. Marcus has been helping me understand some things about finance and estate planning." I wiped flour from my hands. "Estate planning?" Marcus stepped forward, pulling papers from his leather briefcase. "Mrs. Martinez, what Veronica is trying to say is that you need to protect your assets. The bakeries, this house, your investment accounts. If something happened to you, the taxes would be devastating. We're talking about losing 40, maybe 50% of everything to the government." My stomach tightened. "I have a will. Everything goes to Veronica." "A will isn't enough," Marcus said smoothly. "You need to restructure everything into a trust. It's complicated, but I have a lawyer friend who specializes in this. He's drafted everything already. You just need to sign, and Veronica's future is protected. Your legacy is protected." Something felt wrong, but when I looked at Veronica, she was smiling at me with those big brown eyes, Ricardo's eyes, and I felt my resistance crumble. "It's for tax purposes, Mom. It doesn't change anything. You still control everything. It's just paperwork to make sure I'm protected if anything happens to you. Don't you want me to be taken care of? Of course I do, baby. Of course. I signed the papers. All 43 pages. Marcus's lawyer friend, a man named Gerald with a kind face and a notary stamp, witnessed everything. It was official, legal, binding. I didn't know I had just signed away everything I owned. 2 weeks passed. Veronica and Marcus visited less frequently. When I called, Veronica's responses were short, distracted. She was busy settling into married life, she said. I understood. I didn't want to be one of those clingy mothers. Then Christmas Eve arrived. I woke up excited that morning. I'd spent days preparing for Christmas, making all of Veronica's favorite foods. Tamales, pozole, my special hot chocolate with cinnamon and cayenne champorado, buñuelos dusted with cinnamon sugar. The house smelled like my childhood, like love and tradition and family. Veronica and Marcus were supposed to come for dinner. I set the table with my best dishes, the ones Ricardo and I bought in Puebla during our honeymoon. Candles, poinsettias, and a small nativity scene my mother gave me when I was a girl. At 10 in the morning my phone rang. Mom, Marcus and I need to talk to you. We're coming over now. They arrived 30 minutes later. Marcus was wearing jeans and a sweater. Veronica wouldn't look at me directly. What's wrong, Mija? Is everything okay? Mom, sit down. I sat at my dining room table, my heart pounding. Marcus pulled out his phone, showed me something on the screen. This is the deed to this house. As you can see, it's in my name now. I blinked. What? That's impossible. This is my house. Ricardo and I bought this house 30 years ago. Remember those papers you signed 2 weeks ago? The ones Gerald notarized? You transferred ownership of this house, all 8 bakeries, and your investment accounts to a trust that I control as trustee. Legally, everything is mine now. The room started spinning. That's not what you said. You said it was for taxes, for protection. It is for protection. My protection. Your daughter's protection. I looked at Veronica. Tell me this isn't true. Tell me you didn't do this. She finally met my eyes, and I didn't recognize the woman looking back at me. Mom, you're getting older. You're not thinking clearly anymore. We need to make sure the assets are managed properly. I'm not confused. I'm 62 years old, not 90. I run 8 successful businesses. Marcus laughed. Actually, you don't. I do now. And I've already made some changes. New management, new suppliers, better profit margins. You can't do this. I'll call the police. I'll call a lawyer. Go ahead. You signed everything voluntarily. Gerald is a real lawyer. Those papers are real legal documents and they're notarized. Everything was done by the book. You have no legal recourse. I couldn't breathe. Veronica, please. I'm your mother. Why would you do this to me? Because you were going to leave everything to me anyway. We just accelerated the timeline. And honestly, Mom, you were being irresponsible with the money. That wedding? $200,000? That's absurd. That money should have been invested. I did it for you. I did everything for you. And we appreciate that, Marcus said, his voice dripping with false sincerity. Which is why we're not throwing you out completely. You can stay in the guest house. It's small, but adequate for one person. You'll have a monthly allowance of $800. That should cover your basic needs. $800? From $15 million worth of assets, you're giving me $800 a month. You'll have free housing, Veronica said. And you can visit us for dinner on Sundays if you behave. If I behave? I'm not a child. I'm your mother. Marcus stood up. Mrs. Martinez, you need to accept reality. The sooner you do, the easier this will be for everyone. Veronica and I have plans for the bakeries. We're going to franchise them, expand nationally, maybe internationally. This is bigger than your little neighborhood shops. This is real business. I looked at my daughter, at this stranger wearing my daughter's face. Your father would be ashamed of you. Her eyes flashed with anger. Don't you dare bring Dad into this. He would want me to be smart with money, not sentimental like you. He would want you to have integrity. He would want you to honor your mother. I'm honoring your legacy by making it bigger and better. You should be thanking me. That's when something inside me broke. Not sadly but angrily. Get out of my house. Marcus smiled. It's not your house anymore. Actually, you need to get out. We're having a Christmas party tonight. Veronica's new in-laws are coming and frankly, we don't want you here. You're kicking me out on Christmas Eve? You can go to the guest house. There's a bed, a bathroom. It's not our fault if you're being dramatic about this. I stood up, my hand shaking. I won't give you the satisfaction. I'd rather sleep on the street than accept one more second of your cruelty. Veronica shrugged. Suit yourself. But if you leave, don't come back. And don't try to cause problems. We have lawyers and you have nothing. I went upstairs to my bedroom, the one I'd shared with Ricardo, and packed one suitcase. Clothes, a few photographs, my jewelry, my wallet with $900 in cash. That was it. Everything else, 35 years of work, 3 decades of memories, my entire life I left behind. When I came back downstairs, Marcus was already changing the locks on the front door. Goodbye, Mom, Veronica said, not looking up from her phone. Maybe in a few months when you've calmed down, we can talk about you moving into the guest house. I walked out the door and heard it slam behind me. Lock, click. Final. It was 3 o'clock on Christmas Eve and I was homeless. I'd like to say I had a plan, but I didn't. I walked to the corner and sat on a bench at the bus stop. I had no friends to call. After Ricardo died, I'd isolated myself, pouring everything into the bakeries and Veronica. My siblings lived in Mexico. I had business acquaintances, but no one I could call on Christmas Eve to say, my daughter stole everything and kicked me out. Can I sleep on your couch? The sun set. The air grew cold. Families walked past me, carrying presents and groceries, laughing and talking about their holiday plans. No one looked at me. I was invisible, just another old woman on a bench. I cried. Not pretty crying, but ugly, desperate, soul-crushing sobs that came from somewhere deep inside me. I cried for Ricardo, for the daughter I thought I had, for the life I'd lost, for everything I'd worked for that was stolen in a moment of trust. Excuse me, are you all right? I looked up. A young woman stood in front of me, maybe 30 years old, wearing a long coat and carrying shopping bags. I'm fine, I lied. No, you're not. It's Christmas Eve, you're crying on a bus bench and it's getting cold. Do you have somewhere to go? Not anymore. She sat down next to me. I'm Amanda. What's your name? Elena. Elena, I don't know what happened to you, but I know that look. I've been there. Different circumstances, but I've been exactly where you are right now. Lost. Alone. Believing the world ended. It did end. My daughter stole everything from me. My businesses, my house, everything. And I have nowhere to go. Amanda pulled out her phone. I volunteer at a women's shelter downtown. They have beds, hot meals, and people who can help you figure out your next steps. Can I call them for you? I almost said no. Pride, you know. Elena Martinez, a successful businesswoman, is sleeping in a homeless shelter? But then I remembered I was Elena Martinez, a homeless woman with nowhere else to go. Yes. Please. The shelter was full because it was Christmas Eve. But they had a mat on the floor in the common area, and they gave me a blanket and a turkey sandwich. I lay there that night, surrounded by women with stories probably worse than mine, and stared at the ceiling. I was 62 years old and I had to start over from nothing. The next morning, Christmas Day, I went to the community center connected to the shelter. They had a bulletin board with job postings. Most required skills I didn't have or ages I'd passed. Then I saw it. Household manager/nanny needed. Live-in position. Must be experienced with children, patient and trustworthy. Excellent salary and benefits. References required. I had no references. I'd been self-employed for 35 years. But I had nothing to lose, so I called the number. A man answered. Hartwell Residence. Hi. I'm calling about the household manager position. One moment, please. Silence. Then a woman's voice, refined but tired. This is Isabella Hartwell. You're inquiring about the position. Yes. My name is Elena Martinez. I understand you need someone to help with your household and care for a child. Do you have experience with children? I raised a daughter. That was complicated now. And I volunteered for years at a special needs center in Los Angeles. I worked with children who had autism, Down syndrome, and developmental delays. Why did you stop volunteering? My husband died. I had to focus on keeping our businesses running. But I miss working with children. I miss feeling useful. There was a long pause. Mrs. Martinez, I'm going to be direct. My son Daniel is 7 years old. He's autistic and nonverbal. He hasn't spoken since his father died 3 years ago. We've had 6 nannies in 2 years. They all quit because they couldn't connect with him. I need someone who won't give up on him. Can you be that person? Yes. Absolutely yes. The salary is $65,000 a year, plus full benefits. You'd have your own cottage on the property, 3 weeks paid vacation. But you have to commit to at least a year. Daniel can't handle constant turnover. $65,000. A place to live. Purpose. When can I start? Today. Come for an interview this afternoon. If it goes well, you can move in tomorrow. She gave me the address in Malibu. I hung up and looked down at my wrinkled clothes, my uncombed hair. I had $900 in one suitcase. I was about to interview for a live-in position at a mansion in Malibu. It was completely insane. And it was my only option. I used the shelter's shower, put on my cleanest clothes, braided my hair, and took 2 buses in an hour and a half to reach Isabella Hartwell's address. The house wasn't a house. It was an estate. White stone, floor-to-ceiling windows, surrounded by gardens that looked like something from a magazine. The gate was open, so I walked up a driveway lined with roses. A man in his 30s opened the front door before I could knock. Mrs. Martinez? Yes. I'm James, Mrs. Hartwell's assistant. Please come in. The interior was beautiful but not cold. Family photos on the walls, comfortable furniture, toys scattered near a window. It looked lived in, loved. Mrs. Hartwell is in the garden with Daniel. I'll take you to her. We walked through a kitchen that made me ache with longing, all marble and stainless steel and professional equipment, then out into a backyard that stretched forever. A pool, a playground, a vegetable garden. And there near a rose bush I saw them. Isabella Hartwell was maybe 40, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing jeans and a simple blouse. She was kneeling in the dirt next to a small boy with curly brown hair. He was rocking back and forth, his hands covering his ears. Mrs. Hartwell? James called out gently. She looked up, her face exhausted but beautiful in that way that grief makes people beautiful. Like they've seen the worst and survived. You must be Elena. Thank you for coming. She stood up, wiping dirt from her knees. This is Daniel. The boy didn't acknowledge me. He kept rocking, humming a tuneless sound. I knelt down slowly, about 5 feet away from him. Close enough to be present, far enough not to invade his space. Hello, Daniel. My name is Elena. I love your garden. Especially these roses. Do you know roses need sunlight, good soil, and patience? Just like people. He didn't respond, but his rocking slowed slightly. I didn't push. I just stayed there, kneeling in the dirt, talking softly about plants and sunshine and how beautiful the sky was today. After 5 minutes, Daniel's hands came down from his ears. After 10 minutes he looked at me, just a glance, but it was something. Isabella was crying. You're hired, she whispered. Please. You're hired. That's how I came to live at the Hartwell estate. I moved into the cottage the next day. It was small but perfect. A bedroom, a kitchenette, a bathroom with a clawfoot tub. It had more peace than my mansion ever did. The first few weeks were hard. Daniel didn't trust me. He'd throw toys, refuse to eat, scream when I tried to help him with simple tasks. But I remembered my training from the special needs center. And I remembered something Ricardo used to say, patience isn't waiting. It's how you act while you're waiting. So I acted with love. Every morning, I'd meet Daniel in the garden. I talked to him about the plants, about the birds, about anything that came to mind. I'd bring activities, simple things like sorting color blocks or playing with clay, but I never forced him. I let him come to me. Isabella watched from a distance, hope and fear warring on her face. How do you do it? She asked me one evening after Daniel had finally let me read him a story. How do you stay so patient? Because I know what it's like to lose everything, I said honestly. And I know that the only way back is through connection. Your son isn't broken, Mrs. Hartwell. He's protecting himself. He lost his father. He's scared that if he loves someone else, he'll lose them too. Her eyes filled with tears. Call me Isabella. Please. Isabella. Your son is going to be okay. But you have to be patient too. The breakthrough came 6 weeks after I started. Daniel and I were in the garden, planting tomato seeds. I'd been showing him how to make small holes in the soil, drop the seeds in, cover them gently. He was focused, actually focused, his little hands carefully mimicking my movements. Good job, Daniel, I said softly. You're being so gentle. The seeds will grow because you're taking care of them. And then he looked up at me and smiled. It wasn't a big smile, just a small curve of his lips. But it was genuine and it was for me. Daniel. Isabella's voice came from the patio. She'd seen it too. He didn't stop smiling. He reached out and patted my hand. I started crying right there in the dirt, and I didn't care who saw. That night, Isabella invited me to have dinner in the main house. Not in the kitchen but in the dining room like a guest. Elena, I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to thank me. Daniel is a beautiful child. I'm honored to know him. He's been seeing therapists, specialists, and doctors for 3 years. None of them got through to him the way you have. What's your secret? It's not a secret. I just saw him. Not his autism, not his challenges, not his tragedy. I see Daniel. A 7-year-old boy who loves gardens and hates loud noises and needs to know he's safe. That's all. Isabella reached across the table and took my hand. Tell me your story, Elena. The real one. Why were you at a shelter on Christmas Eve? So I told her everything. Veronica, Marcus, the fraud, the betrayal, all of it. I didn't cry this time. I was tired of crying. When I finished, Isabella was quiet for a long moment. I'm going to help you, she finally said. No. I don't want charity. It's not charity. You're helping me with the most important person in my life. Let me help you get justice. Isabella, I can't afford lawyers. I have nothing. I have lawyers. Lots of them. And they owe me favors. Will you let me at least investigate? See if there's legal recourse. I wanted to say no. Pride again. But I thought about Veronica stealing my life's work, and I thought about how Isabella was offering me a chance to fight back. Okay. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when we win. Over the next 3 months, something amazing happened. Daniel continued to improve. He started using a picture communication system I'd learned about at the Special Needs Center. He'd point to pictures to tell us he was hungry, tired, wanted to play. It wasn't verbal speech, but it was communication, and that was everything. Isabella and I became friends. Real friends. We'd have coffee after Daniel went to bed, talking about life and loss and hope. She told me about her husband, Michael, how he died in a car accident, how she blamed herself for months because they'd been arguing that morning. I told him I couldn't do this anymore, that he traveled too much for work, that I was raising Daniel alone, she confessed. He drove off angry, and then he was gone. It wasn't your fault, I said firmly. Accidents are accidents. You couldn't have known. That's what my therapist says. But knowing it in your head and feeling it in your heart are different things. Yes, they are. We understood each other, Isabella and I. 2 women who'd lost everything and were trying to build something new from the ruins. One afternoon, Daniel and I were in the garden as usual. He'd gotten very good at planting, and we'd expanded from tomatoes to strawberries, carrots, and herbs. He loved the herbs, especially basil. He'd rub the leaves between his fingers and then hold them up to my nose to smell. I'd taught him simple sign language. Nothing complicated, just basic signs for more. Please. Thank you. Love. He was picking it up quickly. We were watering the strawberry plants when Daniel suddenly put down his watering can and looked at me very seriously. Then he made the sign for love and pointed at me. I love you. My heart stopped. Daniel? Do you mean that? You love me. He nodded and repeated the sign. Oh baby. I love you too. So much. I pulled him into a hug, and he didn't pull away. He hugged me back, his little arms tight around my neck. Elena. Isabella's voice was shaking. She was standing on the patio, her hand over her mouth. Daniel pulled away from me and ran to his mother. He made the sign for love and pointed at her too. Isabella dropped to her knees, holding him, sobbing. That evening, she came to my cottage after Daniel was asleep. Elena, I need to tell you something. What is it? My lawyers found something. The documents your daughter had you sign? The lawyer who notarized them, Gerald? He's not licensed in California. He's licensed in Nevada, which means the notarization isn't valid. My heart started pounding. What does that mean? It means the documents are potentially invalid. It means we might be able to challenge the transfer in court. It means you might be able to get everything back. Are you sure? My lawyers are sure. They want to file a motion next week. But Elena, there's something else. What? The bakeries are failing. Marcus has run them into the ground. He fired most of the experienced staff, switched to cheap suppliers, and raised prices. Customers are leaving in droves. 3 of the locations have closed. The others are barely hanging on. My beautiful bakeries. My life's work. Destroyed. We can still save them, Isabella said quickly. But we have to act fast. Are you ready to fight? I thought about Veronica's face when she kicked me out. I thought about Marcus changing the locks. I thought about how they'd left me with nothing on Christmas Eve. And then I thought about Daniel signing, "I love you." I thought about the second chance I'd been given. I thought about how far I'd come from that bus bench. Yes, I'm ready to fight. The legal battle took 4 months. It was brutal. Veronica and Marcus hired expensive lawyers who tried to paint me as a confused old woman who didn't understand what she was signing. They brought up Ricardo's death, suggested I'd been in a grief-induced fugue state. They portrayed themselves as loving children trying to protect an unstable mother. Isabella's lawyers destroyed them. They proved the notarization was invalid. They showed evidence of fraud, including emails between Marcus and Gerald discussing how to handle the old lady. They demonstrated that I'd been running 8 successful businesses right up until the moment I signed the papers, proving I was completely competent. The judge ruled in my favor. The transfer was voided. Everything reverted back to me. Veronica screamed at me outside the courthouse. "You're destroying us. We have nothing now." "Neither did I," I said calmly. "You took everything from me and threw me out on Christmas. Now you understand how that feels. I'm your daughter." "No. You were my daughter. Now you're just someone I used to know." Marcus was arrested 2 weeks later. Turns out he'd been embezzling from the bakeries, forging checks, stealing inventory. He was facing multiple felony charges. Veronica came to see me 1 month after the trial. I was living at Isabella's cottage still, though I now owned my old house again. I didn't want to live there anymore. Too many ghosts. "Mom." She looked terrible. Thin, exhausted, defeated. "What do you want, Veronica?" "Marcus is going to prison. I'm filing for divorce. I lost my job because of the scandal. I have nothing. Nowhere to go. I remember what that feels like. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't mean anything, but I'm sorry. I was greedy and stupid, and I let Marcus convince me that what we were doing was smart business. But it was evil. And I'm sorry." I looked at this broken woman, and I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel revenge. I felt sad. Sad for the daughter I'd lost, sad for the woman she'd become, sad for all the years we couldn't get back. "I'm not ready to forgive you," I said honestly. "Maybe I never will be. But I'm also not going to leave you homeless. There's a studio apartment above the bakery in Pasadena. It's empty. You can live there. And if you want to work at the bakery, you can. Minimum wage, entry level. You'll start where I started, learning the recipes, serving customers, cleaning up. If you work hard, maybe you'll earn more. If you don't, you'll be fired like anyone else. Why would you help me after what I did? Because someone helped me when I had nothing. And because, despite everything, you're still my daughter. I just don't know if I'm still your mother." She started crying. "Can I hug you?" "Not yet. Maybe later. But not yet." She nodded and left. I don't know if Veronica and I will ever have a real relationship again. But I gave her a chance, which is more than she gave me. Now back to where I started. 6 months after I came to Isabella's estate, Daniel and I are in the kitchen and he's helping me make cookies. He's gotten so good at signing that we have full conversations now. And this morning he did something incredible. He spoke. Not a full sentence, just one word. Cookie. But it was a word. His first word in 3 years. Isabella heard it from the other room and came running. Did he just talk?" "Cookie," Daniel said again, pointing at the tray. Isabella grabbed me, crying and laughing at the same time. "You did this. You brought my son back to me." No. Daniel did this. He decided he was ready. I just helped him feel safe enough to try. She pulled back and looked at me with such intensity that I felt my heart skip a beat. Elena, I need to ask you something. What? Do you ever think about staying here? Not as an employee, but as family. What do you mean? I mean, Daniel loves you. I love you. You've become the most important person in both our lives. And I don't want you to ever leave. I want this to be your home, really your home. Not a cottage on my property, but our home. All three of us. Isabella. I'm not asking you to decide right now. Just think about it. Think about building something new, something different, something better than what we both lost. And that's when she said it. Those 5 words that changed everything. Where have you been all my life? I didn't know how to answer because I was wondering the same thing about her. That evening after Daniel went to bed, Isabella and I sat on the patio under the stars. The jasmine I planted was blooming, filling the air with sweetness. I have a proposal, Isabella said. A business proposal. I'm listening. You need to rebuild your bakeries. I have capital to invest and a background in business management. What if we became partners? 50-50. We expand Sweet Elena's, but we also create a foundation. We hire employees with special needs. We create adaptive workplaces. We show the world that disability doesn't mean inability. That's a beautiful vision. It's our vision. If you want it. I looked at this woman who'd given me shelter when I had nothing, who'd helped me fight for justice, who'd become my closest friend. I looked at the house where Daniel was sleeping, this boy I loved like my own grandson. I thought about my old life, the one Veronica stole. And I realized something profound. I didn't want that life back. That life was lonely. That life was me working constantly, giving endlessly, never receiving, never being seen for who I was. That life was beautiful, bakeries and empty nights. This life, this new life, was messy and complicated and uncertain. But it was real. It was connection. It was love. Yes, I said. Let's build something together. Isabella took my hand. Partners. Partners. We sealed the deal with a handshake, and then we stayed there under the stars, talking about the future. Our future. In the months that followed, everything transformed. We reopened all 8 bakery locations with new staff, including 12 employees with various disabilities. Daniel's breakthrough inspired Isabella to fund a special needs advocacy center. Veronica worked at the Pasadena location, quietly rebuilding her life, slowly earning back small pieces of my trust. But the biggest change was personal. Isabella and I moved forward, not as employer and employee, not even just as friends, but as something more. 2 women who'd lost everything and found each other in the wreckage. We built a family, the 3 of us, unconventional and beautiful. Daniel started at a new school for children with special needs, where he thrived. He spoke more each week, full sentences now, telling us about his day, his friends, his dreams. He called me Elena Mama, and it was the most beautiful sound in the world. A year after that Christmas Eve on the bus bench, exactly a year, Isabella threw a party. Not a holiday party, but a celebration of new beginnings. Our employees came, Daniel's teachers, Isabella's family, and even Veronica, who stood awkwardly in the corner but came anyway. Speech. Speech, someone called out. I didn't like public speaking, but Isabella nudged me forward. I'm not good at speeches, I began. But I want to say thank you. A year ago I lost everything. My home, my businesses, my daughter, my identity. I thought my life was over. I sat on a bus bench on Christmas Eve, and I genuinely didn't know if I'd survive. The room was completely silent. But then something miraculous happened. Someone saw me. Amanda from the shelter saw me. Isabella saw me. And most importantly, Daniel saw me. They didn't see a homeless old woman. They didn't see a victim or a failure. They saw Elena. And they reminded me that losing everything doesn't mean you are nothing. It means you have space to become something new. I looked at Daniel, who was signing "Love You" repeatedly, and at Isabella, who was crying openly. So thank you. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for saving me. And thank you for showing me that sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. The room erupted in applause. Daniel ran up and hugged my legs. Isabella joined us and we stood there, the 3 of us holding each other. Veronica approached me later, tentatively. Mom? That was beautiful. Thank you. I'm proud of you. For building all this. For surviving. I'm surviving because I had help. Remember that, Veronica. None of us makes it alone. She nodded, tears on her cheeks. Can I hug you now? I hesitated. Then I opened my arms. Yes. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was a beginning. As the party wound down and guests started leaving, I found myself back on the patio with Isabella. The jasmine was still blooming, still filling the air with that impossible sweetness. Happy, she asked. Happier than I've ever been. Which is crazy because a year ago I had millions of dollars in a mansion. Now I have a cottage and a partnership and shared custody of a 7-year-old. And I'm happier. Money doesn't keep you warm at night. People do. I laughed. When did you become such a philosopher? I learned from the best. We sat in comfortable silence watching the stars. Elena. I need to tell you something. My heart skipped. What? I'm falling in love with you. Maybe I already have. And I need you to know that, even if it complicates everything, even if you don't feel the same way. I turned to look at her, this beautiful, brilliant, broken woman who'd saved my life in every way a person can be saved. It's not complicated, I said softly. And I do feel the same way. She smiled and it was like the sun breaking through clouds. Really? Really? We leaned in slowly, giving each other time to pull back, but neither of us did. Our lips met, gentle and tentative and perfect. When we pulled apart, we were both crying. So what happens now? Isabella whispered. Now we keep building. The bakeries, the foundation, our life. Together. Together, she agreed. We kissed again under the stars, and somewhere in the house I heard Daniel laughing at something on TV. And I thought about how strange life is. How loss and gain are sometimes the same thing. How the worst day of your life can lead to the best days if you're brave enough to keep going. I lost my daughter, but I gained a son. I lost my businesses, but I found my purpose. I lost my old life, but I discovered a new one, better and truer and filled with love that was chosen, not obligated. And isn't that the secret? That the families we build are sometimes stronger than the ones we're born into? That love isn't about blood, it's about who shows up. Who sees you? Who stays? 6 months later, Daniel, Isabella, and I moved into a new house together. Not my old mansion, which I'd sold to fund the Special Needs Foundation. Not Isabella's estate, which held too many memories of Michael. A new house, our house filled with light and laughter and possibility. The night we moved in, we had a small ceremony. Just the 3 of us. We planted a tree in the backyard, a lemon tree, because they're resilient and beautiful. And they bear fruit even in California's drought. This is our family tree, I said. It might not look like everyone else's family tree, but it's ours and it's perfect. Daniel signed. Love you both, Isabella said. To new beginnings, I added. And to the courage to start over. We stood there, the 3 of us, covered in dirt and sweat, and I realized this was it. This was happiness. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of love. Not perfection, but authenticity. Not the life I planned, but the life I was meant to live. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find what really matters. Sometimes betrayal leads to blessing. Sometimes the worst Christmas Eve of your life is actually the beginning of your best life. I thought I was Elena Martinez, businesswoman, mother, wife. And when I lost those identities, I thought I lost myself. But I was wrong. I'm Elena Martinez. Survivor. Friend. Partner. Chosen mother to a beautiful boy who taught me that words aren't the only way to communicate love. Beloved of a woman who saw me when I was invisible. Baker of bread and builder of dreams. And I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. If you're watching this and you've lost everything, please know this. You're not finished. Your story isn't over. There's a Daniel waiting to hold your hand in a garden. There's an Isabella waiting to see you, really see you. There's a second chance coming. You just have to be brave enough to accept it. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment telling me about your second chances, your new beginnings, your chosen families. And hit that like button to remind others that it's never too late to start over. Because trust me, I'm 63 years old now, and I'm just beginning. And so can you.